Hello and welcome to the Advocacy Life blog and podcast network. I am your host, Mr. Kevin Nunez. I am thrilled you chose to spend a few minutes with me. I am the host of the Purposely Broken World. This program is designed to raise more questions than answers. Did you know that 1 in 4 Americans are diagnosed with some form of developmental disability? That makes me your new disability buddy. I created this program to make you think, laugh, love about society, culture, and faith. Things that all interact with each other on an everyday basis. If you want a fresh take on life, then enjoy the ride and see you soon. Hey family, hey friends, hey people out there in YouTube land, hello people out there in podcast land. I am here recording what should have been the November 1st episode of the Purposely Broken World. I know obviously it's past November 1st, but there was a technical issue with the audio that just didn't record, and since I'm not Joe Rogan, I'm not Logan Paul. This is a one-man show. I had to basically do everything by myself and with myself. So I had to go back and record this. And I didn't know that until after I sat down to do the post edit on the episode. That's why it's late. This episode is about acceptance. Acceptance of your life. Acceptance of yourself. Acceptance of your place in this world. That's why it's going to be called Accepting Life. Because part of life is accepting and growing into the person you're meant to be. And that's not always the person you thought you were going to be. It's accepting the person that you were meant to be. This last summer, because I was so sick, I had a lot of time to reflect on life because I literally couldn't speak for 4 months because I had no voice. I had to just learn to adapt, but they're adapting in a way where it's positive and you don't give anything up. It wasn't like a consultation prize. It wasn't like I was settling for something less. I was accepting something more, something greater, a smaller part of the bigger picture. I had to learn to accept my part in the bigger picture of life. And this summer, I really had to take stock and understand that as me as a person. And I think a lot of times when we have our own problems and our own fears, it stops us from seeing the impact we as people have on those around us. We get so stuck on, this is my problem, this is my situation, how do I get out of this, how do I stop this from happening, how can I move on from here. It's a lot, me, but never realizing the impact we have on those around us because all we see is right in front of us. We don't stop and look around. Basically, put another way, we cannot see the forest through the trees. We just see the tree that's planted in front of us and we can't get around it because the tree is blocking our view from seeing the whole forest. When all we have to do is step back. And because I was so sick this last summer, it kind of forced me to step back, and it made me get a new perspective on life. I want to say before I begin this next anecdote that I am not sponsored by the New Jersey Council on Developmental Disabilities to do this podcast. They do not represent this podcast in any way, shape, or form, or the accompanying blog that goes with it. They are going to be mentioned a lot because they're the ones that sponsored me to do the preceding anecdotes that you're going to hear. So I'm reflecting on these particular two events that happened. So you're going to hear their name. You're going to say that, oh, they're sponsoring this. They're not. They just sponsored me to do those specific events. I often get criticized for being too positive and being too happy-go-lucky and focusing on just myself when I do these podcasts and I do my blogs. I want to clear two things up before we begin. First of all, haters are going to hate no matter what. So if you're a hater, just please go listen to some other blog or some other podcast, or go do something else, or go bother somebody else. I'm not giving you time or energy on any of my platforms. Number two, as much as I try to represent the disability community, when I do these podcasts, unless I have a guest on, I can only speak from my own life experience, my lived experience. It's not fair for me, unless I'm writing a policy where I have to try to, weigh everything out in a professional manner, where I have to represent everyone's interest, that I have to balance things out. No, this is my podcast. This is my experience. These are my opinions. If that's okay with you, that's okay with you. If it's not okay with you, that's not okay with you. That's fine. There are other podcasts out there. There are other blogs out there. There are other TV shows to watch. There's tons of other things to do. I'm just me letting God do what God's going to do with me. In September, I attended the Facing the Future conference, which is run by Apathy, which is an organization here in New Jersey designed to help people with disabilities gain and hold successful employment, and also have more financial literacy and financial independence. It's this big conference here in Jersey, kind of like a seminar. And like I said, it was sponsored by the New Jersey Council on Developmental Disabilities to attend this event. Now, also keep in mind that because I was sick for 4 months, no one had really seen me from about June to September. I was essentially a person behind a computer. It was kind of like going back to COVID for a while, at least for me. So I went to this event, and I want to say this because it's the biggest lesson of this particular podcast episode is... Hey friends, really quickly, I'm so sorry for interrupting the podcast, but I need to tell you how to support the Advocacy Life blog and podcast network. Yes, I have a few contributors, but basically it's just Jesus and I doing this thing together. So any donations will be greatly appreciated. You can do PayPal, Cash App, both linked in the bio. I published a book, Confessions from Disability Limbo, linked in the bio as well. Or finally, there is a paid newsletter, $5 a month, for those who want an extra bonus blog every Sunday. One last thing you can do is you can support the podcast directly through a link on the podcast itself and just leave a donation on the podcast itself if you just want to listen to the podcast. That's all I got. All links in the bio. Either way, thanks for your time. This is just value for value. If you like what I do, if you value what I do, then leave me a couple of dollars. If not, there's no obligation whatsoever. Thank you so much for your time. And now back to the show. The way you see yourself is not the way God or those around us see us. Let me specify. I see myself as a gigantic nerd who tries way too hard. Okay, I'm a goofball. I'm a nerd. And from my perspective, as a flawed human, whatever I do is never ever good enough. It's just not. I'm never satisfied. I'm very much a perfectionist in everything I do. So often, after I'm done editing these podcasts, I never go back and listen to them again or watch them again on YouTube. Just because I'm never satisfied with it. It's taken me 4 years to write a second book just because I'm still not happy with it. So people's like, oh, Kevin, you did this. Oh, Kevin, you did that. Fine. I'm the kind of person that is never happy. I always see something I can do better, something I can do differently. So when I was attending this conference, and you're walking the halls, you're going to this session and that session, it was like, hey, it's Kevin. That's the guy you need to talk to for this and that. And people would just come up to me. And I was like in a culture shock. Because who am I to I'm nobody. Like I said, I watch Gargoyles. I watch Star Trek. I basically am Leonard and Sheldon in a wheelchair. Okay, give me Star Trek, give me Marvel, give me Gargoyles, I'm happy. All day. Let's go. Give me Xbox. See you later. Yes, I do see myself as a professional in some ways, but I'm always trying to strive to what I imagine as an unreachable level of professionalism. And I had to learn to accept that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not be the best, but just be the best you. And as I was attending this conference, everyone was coming up to me, and I'm skeeved out of my mind when they're asking me questions that, yes, I know the answers to all the way, but it was hard for me as a person to accept that I'm the guy that knows these answers. I'm the guy that can be counted on. Because when you have a disability, the world sees you in a certain way. And you learn to believe these misconceptions about yourself. Because you basically hear them in one way or another every day of your life. So you don't see yourself as anything more than the disabled person. You don't see yourself as anything more than a burden or a punishment for society, because that's kind of the way society treats you when you're not surrounded by your family or immediate, support groups. So, as I'm in this conference, I'm going through culture shock, and then the end of it was the keynote speaker, which was a wonderful individual that I wish I could give you her name. But frankly, I was so enthralled in listening to her and her story that I didn't write anything down. I just had to stop, turn my brain off, and accept her story and let it motivate myself to motivate hopefully someone else. So this is me essentially trying to pass the torch to hopefully someone out there. This individual was a female. I don't know if she was nonverbal or non-English proficient or could only speak limitedly, but she used an augmentative communication device to speak her remarks. And as I'm listening to her story, again, I have no notes, I was saying, you know what? I could do this. She didn't have a superpower. She didn't have, the best wheelchair in the world. She was just telling her story and sharing her experiences. And I said, stop criticizing yourself and just be you. Accept you and improve on yourself. That's how you can help everyone else, by working on yourself and sharing that knowledge with as many people as possible to help them move forward. By helping yourself, you'll help someone else. And a few weeks later, after that event, I was given my first opportunity to be a keynote speaker at a conference. So, again, God works in a very mysterious way, because it was kind of like being a surgeon. See one, do one, and then teach one. I saw a keynote speaker. Literally 4 weeks later, I was doing my own keynote. And before I knew it, I was on there on my own stage, so to speak, speaking for my own 20 to 25 minutes. Do I recall what I said? Absolutely not. I'm sure I have notes somewhere. But did I write down word for word what I was going to say? No. I shut my brain off and spoke from here, spoke from the heart. So often, we try to be so professional and so exact that whatever we try to produce doesn't work, because it's not who we really are. It's who we are trying to force ourselves to be. Stop. It's important to learn. It's important to grow every single day. It truly is. But if you're so focused on one thing, you cannot see the bigger picture around us. So stop. Take a breath. Take what you've learned and actually use it. So often, we're so busy trying to exist through our own lives that we're not living our own lives. So, as you learn, as you grow, don't forget to live your own experience. You cannot teach anyone or share anything if you're not living the experience yourself. You're just a giant hypocrite if you try to do that. I know I said a lot in the last 20 or so minutes. Maybe I said something to you. Maybe I said nothing at all to you. I'll try to put as many links in the show notes as possible. Wow, that was a really fun episode. Hope you guys come back. If you want to support once again, all you gotta do, Cash App, PayPal, or the link in the description in the bio. They're all there. Just click, click, click. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Thread, all that good stuff. All those links are in the bio. I will post on there regularly. Podcast episodes come out twice a month on the 1st and 15th. And the blogs come out every Wednesday, give or take. See you soon. Thanks for the support. And bye.